Typhoon Matmo has struck southern China with powerful winds and torrential rain, causing widespread disruption across coastal provinces during one of the country's busiest holiday periods. Authorities have been working tirelessly to protect residents and minimize damage, but the storm has already caused major interruptions to transportation, power supply, and daily life for thousands of people. Classified as a severe typhoon under China's meteorological standards, Matmo made landfall on the eastern coast of Shuin in Guangdong Province around 2:50 p.m. local time. The system generated sustained winds of up to 151 kilometers per hour, with gusts surpassing 160, making it one of the most intense storms of the season. Its arrival coincided with China's 8-day National Day holiday, a period marked by mass travel and tourism, which has amplified the storm's disruptive impact. The first effects were felt in Guangdong, where coastal areas were hit by extreme winds and heavy rain, while the island province of Hainan prepared for the cyclone's direct impact. Airlines and ferry operators canceled hundreds of trips, while local authorities suspended public events in anticipation of severe conditions. Meteorological reports confirmed widespread rainfall, with preliminary estimates indicating accumulations between 100 and 250 millimeters across multiple regions. Low-lying zones in Guangdong and Hainan faced an elevated risk of flooding and storm surges as waves pushed inland with increasing strength. In anticipation of a landfall, authorities ordered the preventive evacuation of approximately 347,000 people in exposed areas. In Hainan Province, about 198,000 residents were relocated to safe shelters, while another 151,000 in Guangdong were moved from flood-prone communities. These early evacuations proved critical in preventing large-scale casualties as the typhoon advanced toward the coast. As Matmo's made landfall, emergency teams were deployed to maintain essential operations and secure key transportation routes. In several cities, including Haikou, streets transformed into rivers, with images showing residents wading through waist-deep waters as vehicles were submerged. Power outages were reported across multiple districts as strong winds brought down trees, power poles, and light structures. Communication networks were also affected, forcing authorities to rely on emergency radio broadcasts to reach isolated communities. Despite the magnitude of the disaster, rapid coordination among agencies allowed thousands of residents to reach safe zones before the cyclone's most dangerous phase. In the first hours after landfall, local reports confirmed that no fatalities had been recorded, though property damage was extensive. Infrastructure suffered considerable deterioration. Roads, bridges, and port facilities were destroyed or severely damaged, and several highways were closed due to flooding and debris accumulation. In Hainan, ferry and air services remained suspended as conditions were assessed. The Chinese Maritime Authority temporarily halted port operations to prevent accidents and vessel damage. Emergency teams continued monitoring river levels and the risk of further flooding, especially in areas where the ground was already saturated. As the typhoon moved inland, heavy rain persisted across southern China, triggering flash floods in both provinces. Public services were heavily affected, with schools, offices, and markets remaining closed as a precautionary measure. Local governments opened temporary shelters to accommodate displaced families, while urging residents to stay indoors, avoid unnecessary travel, and follow updates through official channels. However, conditions continued to deteriorate. In several coastal towns, rising water levels forced additional evacuations as rivers overflowed and entire communities were threatened with isolation. In some areas, residents climbed to their rooftops to escape the rapidly rising water. Rescue teams and volunteers worked through the night, reinforcing barriers with sandbags and pumping water out of residential neighborhoods. Infrastructure repair operations began as soon as the wind subsided. Power companies deployed crews to restore electricity, while road workers cleared fallen trees and debris to reopen major routes. Telecommunication providers set up temporary mobile towers to re-establish communication in disconnected regions, though progress remains slow due to extensive flooding and impassable terrain. Meteorologists warned that although Matmo had begun to weaken, its northwestward trajectory would maintain a high risk of flash flooding. The system was forecast to move toward Guangdong and Hainan Provinces, where saturated soil could trigger landslides and crop losses. The storm's inland advance threatened vast rural regions where infrastructure is limited and agriculture is the main livelihood. Experts noted that excessive rainfall could severely affect rice and sugarcane production across southern China. By evening, emergency authorities maintained a high alert level throughout the region, emphasizing the need for continued vigilance in the face of potential secondary disasters. Matmo's impact has once again highlighted the vulnerability of China's southern coastline to high-intensity tropical systems. Experts warned that rising sea surface temperatures in the western Pacific may be contributing to the intensification of such storms. This typhoon has become the 21st to impact China in 2025, marking one of the most active typhoon seasons in recent years. The increasing frequency of these events has put significant strain on the country's response and recovery resources. Despite the extensive damage and economic losses, early evacuations and public cooperation have been key in preventing a major tragedy. Authorities credited the effectiveness of meteorological alerts and the quick response of residents. As rescue operations progressed, recovery efforts focused on clearing main roads and restoring connectivity between affected provinces. The delivery of food, drinking water, and medicine was prioritized for isolated communities. Repair teams also worked to restore power grids, water supply systems, and communication lines, while health teams launched campaigns to prevent disease outbreaks linked to stagnant water. Although Matmo weakened as it moved inland, its trail of destruction stretched from Guangdong's coast to the mountainous regions of southern China. Authorities continued monitoring the terrain for possible landslides and structural collapses. The scale of the disaster has drawn international concern, with neighboring countries offering technical assistance to strengthen future disaster preparedness. Experts agree that the region must reinforce its drainage systems and coastal defenses. The government reiterated calls for caution, urging residents not to return home until conditions were deemed safe. Cleanup operations, debris removal, and damage assessments have been slow due to ongoing intermittent rainfall. In the coming days, assessment teams will determine the full economic impact of the typhoon, including agricultural losses and ecological damage caused by excess water and strong winds. For now, southern China faces a long and difficult recovery process after one of the most powerful typhoons to strike the region this year. The name Matmo, will remain a stark reminder of nature's uncontrollable power and the vulnerability of coastal communities before the force of the sea.